Okay.
All right. Another Friday,
Yes.
August 7th, 2020. We both did. We both had vacations this week.
If you want to
We,
call it that, yes.
we both traveled to extremely hot locales for summer.
Was it hot where you were?
Yeah. So Tootie and I went to Zion National Park, which is really beautiful. I had been there one other time, but many years ago. So it was beautiful, but yeah, extremely hot during the daytime. Um, but they have a hike there called the Narrows, which is at the very end of the canyon, and it's basically in water. You're basically hiking for a few miles, like up to your thighs in cool water, and it's between these steep canyon walls, so it stays really cool. So that was a nice thing. But it was just good to get out of town.
Yeah. Do they give you like boots and stuff for that, or do you just? Okay. Huh.
Now, just I had river sandals, and Tootie just wore her running shoes. Not a problem.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. And we were in the 116-degree heat of Palm Springs, so good times. I think, as I mentioned to you before, I was successful in hooking my son into golf, so that was mission accomplished there. So I'll be able to play with him hopefully in days ahead. So that was fun. So
Wow.
he hit, like, you know how it is. You hit like one good shot, and you're just like, that's like
Yeah.
it hooks you. He hit this one shot, and it was just like crisp, like you don't even feel. And he goes, "That was banging." So
Another thing before we talk technical things and business, you had brought up Mariners Angels a week or two ago, I think.
yeah. It's
So
not
I
that part of
gotta
the
bring it
meeting yet. The gloating part
up.
happens at the end, Paul.
This week, the gloating part is starting at the beginning of the week. So
All right,
yes,
fair
my
enough.
Angels, my Angels beat your Mariners.
Took him to task.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny.
It's,
Yeah,
it's good to have one victory like that for the season, but I am not expecting a lot of fun things for my Angels this season.
and Otani's down and out for pitching the rest of the season, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, technical stuff.
Okay.
So one thing I thought I'd bring up. I did a bunch of research last week about 1031 exchanges,
Hmm.
and specifically related to the uh, ex, extension of the identification dates and requirements under the COVID thing.
Okay.
So there's some interesting stuff out there. So I think we've mentioned, and I think people are generally aware that um, the Treasury and I think under one of the presidential declarations, there was a specific extension of any date that fell after the emergency declaration date, which was March 12th or something like that, was
Okay.
automatically pushed back to July 15th. So if you had to close on the transaction to for a replacement property, or you had to identify a property sometime in that window, it was automatically extended to July 15th.
Right.
But an interesting thing that I found is that in addition to that specific information related to COVID, there's also a general notice. It's a RevProc. It's RevProc 2018-58 that generally says if your exchange was impacted by a declaration of disaster, some kind of a disaster, that you can extend your date by 120 days.
Okay.
So there's some confusion out there, and there's a lack of information, and taxpayers, I think, can make a decision on their own. And the lack of clarity, if they want to apply this, they may be able to get beyond the July 15th due date. The confusion or the concern is that that the the IRS and the Treasury Department refused to comment as to whether this July 15th date that they specifically provided related to COVID supersedes or overrides this 120-day extension that's in that RevProc 2018-58. So anyways, if, taxpayers, one of the requirements to use that RevProc is that the closure date of the property that was sold has to be after the declaration date of the emergency. So anybody who sold a property after that, whatever that date was, March 12th, I think it was, they can possibly get a date that's beyond that July 15th deadline to identify a property and close on a property under a 1031 exchange.
But if you close before that, but then the identification period falls within that, then you can't go beyond the July 15th.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Got it. So, because typically you have 45 days to select your properties or identify your properties, and then you have 180 days to close on those properties in order to meet the exchange in general.
That's right. But there have been problems with people under COVID. I mean, one of the big issues is that the banks, at least for the first 6 weeks after all this happened, banks were just frozen. They were,
right.
The stock market was tumbling. They weren't sure what was going to happen with valuations. So getting a mortgage was really difficult. I think it still is tough, but I think all of that stuff has kind of been freed up. But yeah, in general, the COVID thing has really caused some problems for people trying to satisfy exchanges.
Sure. One I had was this CALSavers program. So this was a new California program that actually required California employers with more than 100 employees to register and provide a retirement plan for their employees. The original due date was June 30th, but due to this pandemic or something that has been a little disruptive on things, that they pushed it back to September 30th. So employers that have over 100 employees still need to register and provide a retirement plan for their employees by September 30th. And then it'll drop to fewer than, it'll be phased in for everybody else over the next 2 years. So next June 2021, employers with 51 to 100 will have to do it. And then those with 5 to 50 will register June 30th, 2022.
And in general, the CalSavers, it just requires an employer to provide a retirement savings plan for their employees, right?
Yes. Yeah, and if you already have one in place, like you file for an exemption, you just have to register and show that. So if you have something, you're good to go already.
If you got a simple plan, a 401k, anything like that's going to satisfy the requirements of that CalSavers.
That's correct. Yeah.
Good one.
Thanks. And then I guess I was also going to mention, I've had a few clients now that are receiving these letters from the IRS asking them to verify their identity before they'll process the returns. So they may or not be processing those refunds. So it's a 5071C letter, and they have to they can do it all online. They just have to log into irs.gov and then submit some information from a prior return to verify that it is them, and then they'll finish the processing of the 2019 return. But I've had 2 clients that have received these letters, and in today's day and age, you're kind of suspicious when you get these letters that look like official government documents but aren't always. And so they've called me, which I was really glad, and I was able to verify online, yes, these are legitimate requests and that they should finish the verification process.
So I'm guessing once you finish that verification process, do they issue one of those identity PIN numbers?
Yeah, I don't know. possible.
I think, so we have clients from time to time, I'm sure you've experienced this quite a few times, that if they've had any kind of, if there's been any kind of suspicious activity on their account in the past, the IRS sends them a letter with an identity verification PIN number.
Right.
And basically, we can't e-file their return without including that PIN number as part of their e-filing process. I think taxpayers can. I've never done this, but I think I've read this. I think taxpayers can voluntarily online sign up and obtain this PIN number
Yeah, I think
as
so.
just as a second level of security. It's almost, it's probably very similar to, two-factor authentication. You log into your
Right.
bank account and they send you a text message. It's that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's probably, assuming it's something that taxpayers can do on their own, it's probably not the worst idea
Right.
to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, interesting.
Yeah.
You got any other interesting things to discuss?
Nope. My life is not that interesting.
So we're beginning of, it's August 7th.
Yep.
We are, that September 15th deadline is right around the corner. That's something we got
Yeah. I don't even want to think about that.
That's something we and our clients need to be thinking about is, we do need to get things filed. And you always think about, well, we've got till the 15th, but the reality is, we want to get things to our clients, at least a week and a half before that deadline, so they've got time to review things and spend the time they need to really understand things that they're signing. Since after all, those returns, the information of those returns are their responsibility. They need to make sure they understand it all.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's going to be just around the corner. And September 15th is partnerships, S corporations, trusts. Do I have that right? Trusts are, they've been changing these deadlines so much over the
September
past few
30th,
years.
I believe is trust.
September 30th, that's right, September 30th. And then
Yeah.
October 15th, individuals and C Corps.
Yep. You got it. You passed the test. Which,
Only
by the
been doing
way,
this.
see they changing this CPA exam. Now there's only like 3 parts. I mean, it's like so much easier now.
Yeah, back when I took it, I had to walk in the snow uphill both ways to take the CPA exam.
Yeah, pretty soon, yeah, exactly. It'll just be like they just pass that certificate out to anybody that wants one.
All right, anything else?
Nope. Sounds.
Have a good weekend. Go Angels.
All right. Have a good weekend.